Hello, friends. I'm Bree, and you are joining me today for the Squirrel's Guide to Growing Your Instagram and Turning Your Followers into Dream Clients. Doesn't that sound like fun? It sounds like fun to me. Let's just dive in. I am a no fluff sort of coach. I'll do a quick intro here in a second, but aside from that, we move quick, we move dirty because I know you, you know me. Our time and attention are limited. Let's get moving. What are we going to talk about today, Bree? I'm glad you asked. Today, we're going to talk about types of Instagram content, how to use them strategically. We're going to talk about how to grow your existing audience using our favorite thing, Reels, understanding the Reels algorithm. We're going to talk about value stacking, which I'm going to say that I coined this because I haven't seen it anywhere else and I've Googled it and all sorts of things. So we're going to call that a Ready, Set, Squirrel exclusive. Talk about how to choose strategic content pillars. And then we're going to talk about how to turn your audience into clients and customers utilizing your content strategy. So we're going to do our masterclass. And then if you guys stick around, I would love to tell you about Unmasked and Unstoppable and Content Domination. Those are two new offers that I'm introducing, and I'll give you a little rundown at the end if you would hang with me. If you do that, I'll send you some bonus freebies. So it's worth it, I promise. Plus, it'll just be fun. So stick around. And then I will send out your freebie. This is not a live recording. So I did do one live, but this one is not. So it won't be a Q&A, but you are always welcome to send me questions after to my DMs, and I will be happy to answer them. All right. So you are in the right place if you are creating content consistently, but you're struggling right now to convert your audience into paying clients and customers. That's always kind of the hang up, isn't it? If you're ready to start taking authentic content strategy for your online business seriously, and you want to start making more sales. We all want to do that, right? You want to learn how to grow your Instagram. You want to figure out what the freaking algorithm wants from you. What do you want from me? You like visual breakdowns, step-by-steps, and probably some side quests if we are being honest. And you want to learn some ADHD, ADHD-friendly ways to plan and strategize your content. Save your spoons, ways that work for you, because that's what we are all about here. You're not in the right place if you're looking for an overnight quick fix. Those don't really exist. I'm sorry to tell you. If I ever find one, I will let you know. But as of now, everything that I have ever done requires effort and consistency and being a baller. If you're looking for an overnight get rich quick scheme, this is not it. If you're looking for a done for you strategy, those don't exist without one-on-one work because I don't know your business personally. Everybody's business is differently, right? So I can't do a strategy for you. We're just going to talk about how we make a strategy. And I'm going to give you examples. I'm going to give you as much as I possibly can. If you're not willing to learn new things and unlearn some old things, because sometimes we get some stuff in our head that we think is right and it's not. And if we're not willing to kind of learn and grow, we're not going to learn and grow. And if you're just mean, but I know you're not mean, so whatever. And honestly, even if you are mean, it's not live, so no skin off my back. Enjoy it, but just don't be mean. All right, 60-second speed intro. Just a year ago, I was exactly where probably a lot of you guys are today. I was dreaming of starting a business, but I wanted something that aligned with me. As somebody with a brain that works just a little bit differently, that was something that I desperately needed. My journey started in the corporate world. I'd always felt out of place. I'd always felt stifled. I'd always been dreaming of something bigger, but couldn't ever quite grasp it. The problem kind of solved itself when I was laid off of my job about a year ago as an executive assistant to the co-founders of a Mark Cuban startup. And it was facing some financial troubles after some market changes. I had just moved across the country from Alaska to Virginia with 3 neurodivergent kids. We had lost our entire support system, our entire community, and now losing my job, I kind of nosedived off the deep end and hit a level of what I now know was burnout that I had never experienced before. I sought out emergency mental health care and received ultimately my ADHD diagnosis, which I had known before that, but living in rural Alaska, not really having access to much mental health care, and then having to fight the system being a woman who presents differently in her symptoms, it had been a battle, and I had just been putting it off because that's what we do with ADHD. After getting that diagnosis, I realized that the constant masking and the constant trying to fit in had taken such a toll on my creativity, on my mental health, on just who I was as a person and not being able to trust myself. And I made the choice to, at that moment, to trust myself really for the first time in my life. And I took a leap of faith. I made a choice that changed everything. I decided to embrace my brain, my unique way of seeing the world, and to let the world see it too. I harnessed my skills, had no money, nothing to fall back on, but I wanted to create a new life for myself. So that's when Ready, Set, Squirrel was born. It's a brand, yes, but it's more than that. It's a community. It's built on not just the desire to support neurodivergent entrepreneurs, but to spread awareness and to celebrate our differences and our greatest strength, because that is what it is all about. You are a powerhouse. I know it. This was more than 60 seconds. I'm sorry. I have some new ways of doing that. I'm going to tell you about them later at the end, but for now, let's dive in. And these are just nice things that people say about me. Screenshot them. I won't read them all to you, but we gotta humble brag every now and then to show people that we actually know what we're doing, right? I didn't actually put my favorite one in here. I need to highlight my favorite one, which is that I am the best at giving GIFs. So that is my claim to fame, but I do other things good too. Get your act together, Brie. All right, there we go. I'm working with two screens here. All right, so how would you feel if you had a clear path to follow to grow and nurture your audience into more connections and sales in a way that works for your brain? Pretty good, right? Obviously, you can't respond to me because you're not watching this live, but I'm going to assume that feels pretty great to all of you, probably like little Benny the squirrel here. So today's stops, we are going to talk about Instagram content types, how to use them, how to grow your following, understanding the Reels algorithm, understanding and choosing strategic content pillars, the journey from follower to customer, and strategies for planning and crafting your content. So content types, we're just going to move through this quickly because you guys probably already know this, but for anybody who is not super familiar with Instagram, these are our types of content that we can provide our clients or our audience rather. We've got Reels. Reels are about expanding your reach, appealing to a broader, potentially untapped audience. Reels are not for your audience, contrary to popular belief. They are primarily meant for non-followers, and that is how we are going to talk about growing later. Carousels and static posts are for engaging and nurturing our existing audience. Lives are for strengthening community ties, driving leads, telling stories, just letting people get to know us really, really deeply. It's a good way to deliver a lot of content. Stories, building deeper connections. It's a little bit more raw, uncurated, a little more fun sometimes, but they're also really good for driving sales because that's kind of your hottest audience, right? That's where the people who are getting to know you the best kind of hang out. And then we have our DM and our broadcast, which I kind of think of similar to stories, building deeper connections with your audience, because those are literally the people who, if you have access to a broadcast channel yet, they're literally signing up for your nonsense, right? If they sign up to get a DM from you, those are your people. Those are your most engaged, most invested audience, and we want to love on them. All right, how do we grow our Instagram, Brie? I'm going to tell you. All right, we're going to do two things. We're going to combine Reels and value. So I've got here, you can see your little visual because I love visuals. We've got a reel over here and a reel over here, and people are just piling into your account. How cool is that? In order to know how to make those people come over to our account, we need to know, what does Instagram want? What do they want from us, right? You're not going to like the answer. It's money. They just want money. What that means is that they want people on their app as long as possible, right? They want people on their app so that they can serve them more ads, because more ads or more time that you're on the app equals more times they can show you an ad equals more money for Instagram. Corporate, the world, it just is what it is. Everything is kind of designed around that purpose. Unfortunately, because we know that, we can also understand a little bit more about why Reels are created the way that they are created and why they prioritize what they prioritize. So I'm going to take you through a little algo crash course with some visuals here. So we're going to start out here. Here's you. Look at you. You're pointing at your reel. Look at my awesome reel. I just hit post on this awesome reel. Sweet. All right. What a good reel you did. Now, Instagram says, all right, well, we'll see about that. It's going to show it to a little bit of your audience, just a little sampling. It's going to say, here you go. Here you go, little following. Tell me what you guys think of this. Now, your audience can do one of two things. They can watch it and engage with it, or they can not. If they don't, that's when you get the crickets, right? And the low views. That's what we call a flop. It goes down here and it goes, and then it dies a slow death on the shelf of your grid feed. But if they do engage with it, Instagram says, oh, okay, this is keeping people in my app longer. All right, let's show it to more people. Okay, so it shows it to some more people. Do those people watch and engage with it? If no, that's probably going to be your more average performing reel, right? It's going to stay right in the normal middle range of like, okay, that did all right. But if more people watch it when they send it out to that second little sampling, the cycle just continues. It grows and it grows and it grows. So if you can keep getting people to watch and engage, that is ultimately how reels go viral. Priorities. What does Instagram prioritize? Again, because they want people on the app, they're prioritizing view time. They want people who will watch the entire reel, or they want to feed out content that people are watching the whole thing. They also want shares, right? Because if you share something to somebody, especially if you share it to their DMs or if you tag them or if somebody finds it engaging enough to share, somebody is they're going to get that notification from you. They're going to open up their app. They're going to end up back on your app. So that's pretty enticing to Instagram. Comments are another big one, obviously. Likes, that's all engagement. But one thing that a lot of people don't realize is they actually prioritize the audio as well. And the reason for that, if you scroll your Reels feed, you might notice a lot of times you'll start hearing kind of the same songs over and over and over again. And that's because Instagram will feed out Reels to people based on the audio that it's using, because they want people, they start pegging what kind of audios those people save or you save as a user. And so they want people to go into that reel to save that audio and be inspired to create something themselves with that audio. Because the more that people create, the more content that's on there, the more they're going to keep people on their app. That's why trending audio is such a great tool to use as part of a strategy. It's obviously not a strategy in and of itself. You try to rely on that's not going to work or get you very far. But as part of your strategy, that's a great way to get engagement, is by choosing audio that you know is popular, that you know is trending. If you can hop on that train as you start, like, oh, I think that this one's going to bump up. So you get those reels that have really, really high original video views on it. And then you find that audio doesn't have a ton of uses yet. What I'm going to bet is if a video has a trending audio with maybe 500 uses already, but the original video has maybe 10 million views, there's a lot more people that have that audio saved than have used it yet. So if you can hop onto that train quickly and kind of ride that wave up, that's just an extra little boost. Obviously, it's not going to carry you all the way if your content is bad to begin with, but it can help, give you a little nudge, give you a little boop, which can be helpful. You know, anything we can do. And catering to your audience, obviously, too. You guys, we'll talk about that a little more later. But how do we achieve these things, this engagement that we want so badly? We need to remember a few things. Firstly, that Reels are for a cold audience. The algorithm is designed for discoverability with an emphasis on entertainment. That's actually Instagram's own word. So when you are trying to create Reels, keeping in mind that Instagram is literally telling you we're prioritizing entertainment. They don't say education, although education for some people can be entertaining. So this is where it really comes into knowing your audience and knowing what your audience wants from you so that you can entertain them, or at least your target audience at this point, right? Because once we get into the nurture phase, again, we'll talk about that later, we have more flexibility. But for Reels, you need them to be a little bit more broad. and a little bit less designed for that high level stuff, because this is where people are being introduced to you for the very first time. They've probably not seen your face before, to be honest. They don't know who you are from Adam. They're scrolling their feed and, maybe they've interacted with something from you before. Maybe they've run across your face before. Sometimes you'll see some of the same creators, but if you scroll through your reels, what you'll realize is that most of those people you don't follow. And that's because Instagram is trying to introduce you to new things and new people. And it's doing that on some factors that we'll touch on here in a sec. So you got to niche down. You have to talk to your dream audience. You cannot have a really broad niche on Instagram. It's just not designed for that. If you want to have a broader niche, you need to go to a different platform. But if you want to succeed on Instagram, you need to niche. And that's just because there's so much competition that if you're trying to talk to everybody, you're not going to be talking to anybody, because nobody is going to have any idea that you're even talking to them to begin with. It's not going to result in people having a compelling reason to follow you. You need to master your hooks, your calls to action, and your keywords. So our hooks are going to be one of the most important things when it comes to a reel. There's 3 types of hooks. You can use visual hooks, you can use audio hooks, or you can use text hooks. So like your text on the screen. Your visual hooks could be things like moving towards the camera. Sometimes you see just movement in the screen. A face can be a hook, like just popping into the screen. Audio hooks could be some sort of sound that kind of triggers somebody to pay attention, that's just a little bit unique or different. It can also be delivered via a talking head video. So maybe I have something you need to know. Tell me if this has ever happened to you. You don't ever want to start out a reel by saying like, hey guys, I just wanted to hop on here. And that's not because we want you to be anybody but yourself, but it's just because it doesn't hold people's attention if they don't know you already. And that is what we're doing with reels. Now, if you are making reels, and this is part of my strategy personally, I don't make every reel for reach. I know that my people will go to my page and sometimes they'll just go in and binge stuff. So I don't need every reel to get a lot of reach on it in order to continue growing, because I know what kinds of reels are going to get the reach I want. And I just prefer making reels. So I'll make other stuff and just make sure that when I design it, I create a grid, a reel cover for my grid that's got a hook on it. So people know exactly what they're going to get from that content, and they don't have to just like click through and figure out. It's like they can go to my profile and it's like, oh, they can scroll through my grid and see what all of my videos are about, because I'm not doing carousels or single image posts for most of my content. Calls to action, those need to be catered to your audience as well. Because audiences like to be talked to in different ways. If you're a little bit more of a formal, neurotypical crowd, is your target audience, you might be able to use the more classic calls to action. But if you have an audience like mine that's very demand avoidant, sometimes you have to kind of, mess around and make it a little more casual. Like, hey, if you want to come hang out, or if like you vibe with what I'm doing, drop me a follow, or like come see if you like my stuff. I try to make things a lot more suggestion based rather than being so direct about the way that I approach my calls to action. And that's just because it's the way that I prefer being talked to. I know what you're trying to do when you call me to action. I'm not dumb, but wording can have a really big difference. So use that strategically, because sometimes you just need to know, or people need to know what you want them to do if they're going to actually do it, or they need to know where to click, or they need to know where to find something. Calls to action are a great way to get people to interact with your content. You just have to learn how to do that effectively for your person. You want to provide value, aka a reason for them to actually watch it, right? Because you can't just throw anything up there and expect people to watch it. They've got 5 gazillion things every day that they can possibly watch. Like, why do they want to watch your content? So we got to give them a reason to watch it, for one, all the way through, to share it, to comment on it. We need to give them as many reasons as we possibly can, because again, this is where they're going to decide whether or not we are worth their very coveted follow, so that we can start turning them into our besties. Oops, I went too far. Insights and research. Don't be afraid of your insights. Figure out what's working, what's not. Is this working? No? All right, cool. Let's tweak it. Let's turn it on its head and try something else. Don't be afraid of experimentation. So something flops. Who cares? Nobody's going to remember that. But it's more information for you moving forward if something does flop that like, okay, that didn't work. Maybe let's try it again. Didn't work a second time? All right, maybe we need to like rethink this and introduce a different style or introduce a different way of saying something. The more that you watch those insights, it's just information for you to learn from and grow from. So don't let it trigger your RSD. Don't let people unfollowing you trigger your RSD. They only unfollow you for a couple of reasons. And that's just because they don't super vibe with your personality or your content, which fine. I don't know where we think that we were ever built to be designed for everybody. Like, that's just not the case. I'm not for everybody. I'm fully aware of that. But I would rather you figure that out and, move on out than have to sit and listen to my BS every day. For one. And for two, like, you're not my target client anyway. So, whatever. Self-curate. Bye. And another reason could just be that they're bots. I mean, I cannot tell you how many bots I get on a daily basis, and I manually clean them out because they destroy your engagement. Instagram doesn't do a great job of cleaning them out, but occasionally they will go through and flag some and take out like a chunk of people. So if you ever get unfollowed, like half the time it could be a bot that Instagram is just saying, get out of here. We're closing down your account. All right, bye. I took 500 bots off of my account just like 2 days ago. It's always funny in my analytics when I go back and look at it. It's like this huge dip in followers. And I'm like, oh, that was a bot cleanup day. Keywords. You guys probably know what keywords are, but these are words that you want to sprinkle into your content, your bio, your profile, everywhere you possibly can to help to let the algorithm know what your content is about and who you want them to deliver it to. It's also really great for searchability because all of these platforms now are becoming more SEO based, more search engine optimized. So we want to make sure that we're talking about what our account is for so that the algorithm can show it to the right people who are actively searching for us, right? The best way that you're ever going to find keywords is on the platform that you're using. But unfortunately, in this case, Instagram is kind of a pain in the booty because their search capabilities are just not very great. You can see here, I like typed in a couple of keywords and it gave me like 3 things that, because these first things that populate are like what's trending based on that topic. So you can type it in and see kind of what populates first. And if you can sprinkle that verbiage or make a piece of content about whatever that is that's populating, that's going to help your visibility. TikTok is also really good because they kind of cross-pollinate in a sense. A lot of things start out on TikTok and then move over to Instagram. TikTok kind of tends to pave the way with a lot of trends. So if you can use their search bar in there to kind of see what's trending and hop on some of those things quicker, you have a good chance of, having more visibility, but it also gives you a lot more to work from. And you can type in like longer form keywords too, like a sentence long, and it'll keep populating results, whereas Instagram kind of cuts off after like 1 or 2. Keyword Sheeter. Yes, it is supposed to sound like keyword. It's a free tool. You just go to the website, you type in your keyword in this, I know it's a little small picture, but in this little bar right here, and it's going to start populating results for you, like real-time searches. And what I will do is sometimes just go in there, pop in a keyword, watch it for a few minutes. Sometimes I will just scroll through it because there's a little stop button, right? So you can tell it to stop at any time, and then you can scroll up through the results. Or you can just copy and paste the results over into like an Excel sheet, analyze them later if you want to. But what I will start looking for is trends. If a lot of people are searching for the same thing, that's a pretty good indicator that maybe I should make a piece of content about that, because a lot of people have this question right now, or a lot of people are looking for information about this right now. And the more that I can stay ahead of that, the better chance I have of getting seen by my ideal audience. Keyword Surfer, that is your Google Chrome browser extension. So if you're a Chrome user, I am. I know not everybody is, but if you are, that's a really good little tool to pop up into your extension search bar, and it will give you a lot of trending information, a lot of keyword information. It's easy to use, gives you tons of info. Try that as well. All right, value pillars. We are going to talk about how we deliver value in our content, right? So everybody says, give value through your content. You got to give people a reason to follow you. How do we do that, Bree? Well, I'll tell you. We do that through entertainment, inspiration, education, and relatability. I will give the caveat that relatability and vulnerability can be interchangeable because vulnerability is relatable too, right? It's just kind of another way to view that. But if you're a little bit more raw, that always connects with people as well because we're emotional creatures. We are, we connect and we empathize and we see that in people. We see that authenticity and we want to know more about like, what's going on. I know this feeling, I know this emotion. So it's natural to want to engage in and interact with that if you can connect with that on an emotional level. So now I want to talk about my fancy coined term, value stacking. It's pretty self-explanatory in the sense that, so we have a piece of content, right? And people always tell you, all right, there's 4 ways to deliver value through your content. Like, yes, there is, but you can deliver multiple types of value through a single piece of content. Because of how dynamic content is, you have video, you have on-screen text, you have captions, you have calls to action, you have ways to direct people to different things. So your piece of content could have an entertaining video. It could be something silly or funny that makes people laugh and connect that way. And then maybe you pull them into something a little bit deeper in the caption. So maybe now we're talking about inspiration and we're inspiring them to take action on something. And then maybe we have a call to action for a free resource on something that is educational and helpful that helps them solve a problem. So it's like now we've taken this one piece of content and we've stacked all of these layers of value onto that one piece of content. So that is just more reasons for somebody to engage, somebody to follow, somebody to relate, for somebody to be inspired by you. Anytime that you can just pack on that value, you shouldn't ever be worried about providing value to your audience, because whatever your offer is, if you can help and like completely solve somebody's problem, hands off, not working with them at all, not having anything bigger on the back end with your offer, I would say that you probably need to work on your offer. I know for me, I don't ever worry about what information I give away in my content. I don't try to gatekeep anything because I know that the amount of information that I'm even capable of giving somebody through a video, through a caption, whatever, I have books worth of information on my end that somebody can access when they come in and work with me. But like, I can only give that information out in tiny bits at a time. And that's really hard to begin seeing the full picture, but it can help people to be helped and actionable in like one tiny little facet in that way. And so that's what we're trying to give them. We're saying, hey, here's a problem that you have, and here's how I'm going to help you solve this little thing right now. And if you want help with more, that's why I'm here, right? That's how we want to lead them through that journey with us. If you guys just want to screenshot this page, you may. These are just some examples of how you might stack value in a piece of content. And next, I want to talk about content pillars and what they are. They are what you talk about, right? That's basically it. But they're pretty paramount to a strategy because they help keep you on target, especially when you have an offer that you are leading people into with your content. Your pillars should be designed in a way that keep you kind of in that scope of your expertise that leads people to where you want them to go. And so that is why we want them to be niche specific. I don't want to talk about golf on my account. I don't golf anyway, but it wouldn't make any sense for me to talk about golf, even if I did golf. Maybe I might mention it in my stories. That would be a great place to do that because it's personal. It's related to me. But I wouldn't create a reel that was about golf. Here's how to perfect your swing. because that would bring me people that had no interest in anything else that I was doing. So we want to be specific to our niche when we choose our pillars and what we talk about in our account, because we want to be talking to the right people. We want to bring that right audience to us. We also want it to be related to our offer. For example, I'm an ADHD woman. I make a lot of ADHD content because my target audience is ADHD women. I have to also talk about content because I'm a business coach. I have to talk about business related things as well. So it's like, yeah, I'm talking to ADHD women who are also business owners because that's my niche. But when I make my reels, for instance, I talk more generally to ADHD women. Probably a lot of these people are kind of in the same, they're similar to me enough that I want them to at least be aware of who I am and come check me out and discover me. A big chunk of those too are probably my target audience, right? So then that's when I start allowing them to self-curate, allowing them to unfollow if I'm not for them, and then giving them a mix of different types of content to let them know, like, okay, I'm going to make you your ADHD content because that's who I am and that's who I'm most suited to serve with my skills. Every single one of them may not be interested in being an entrepreneur, in being a content creator, in anything else, but they're still going to get a little bit. And like, that's fine. You guys can hang out there because I also do support. I help people with resources. I help people with non-business stuff all the time. I'm probably as much of an ADHD coach just for free on the side as I am anything else. Where I monetize is through my business coaching. So I have to be able to mix that in as well and make sure that I'm talking about it so that people are aware that's actually what I do. Because if I don't talk about it, people just won't know. They'd just be like, oh, that's that girl with those unhinged facial expressions who makes a lot of weird ADHD content on Instagram. It's like, yeah, I am. If you've never seen me before, but like once you get in, it's like, all right, now we're going to talk about the meaty stuff. Oh, what was my last one? Crafted with your dream client in mind. So we kind of just touched on that. We just want to make sure that we are talking to one specific person in our content, that we're not trying to talk to 1,000,005 people, because when you try to do that, nobody is going to realize that you're for them and you're not going to be able to help them. And that's ultimately our goal, right? Is to help the people that we are best suited to help. You want to know a secret about that last one? Most people find that your target audience or your dream client is actually just you. It's just you a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So if that kind of aligns with you, think about that when you create your content. Talk to that person that you were a year ago. What did you need to hear? What problems did you need to have solved? What help did you need? What encouragement did you need? What support would you have loved to have? How would you have wanted somebody to talk to you? Think about all of those things when you make your content, if that is, in fact, your dream client is you. But most of us in helping professions, that is what it ends up being. I would say like 90%. So there's a little cheat sheet for you, because who are you best suited to serve than who you were and who you have grown from over the last X amount of time. So all right, here's an example. My niche, late diagnosed ADHD women. Let's say that I am an ADHD coach. And so I'm offering an ADHD coaching program. Cool. We just talked about this. So we just want our dream client to be extremely detailed, extremely personal. We want to get into their brains and into their minds. And we want to know exactly what problems, what false beliefs they have, what's keeping them up at night. We want to be able to talk to that person so deeply that there is no question in their mind that, oh my gosh, this is for me. This is almost like a horoscope, because maybe not everything aligns word for word, but enough of it aligns that it feels almost eerie, right? There's 2 billion people on Instagram. I guarantee you that no matter how specific that you niche down in your content and how you talk to somebody through your content, there's going to be thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that are going to resonate with what you have to say, because we don't have enough time in our captions, in our content, to get so specific that we'd be like, oh, I'm literally only talking to one person. No, you're talking to somebody like a best friend, like yourself, like somebody that you love and care about. All right, pillar examples. Understanding ADHD. So let's say, so I'm an ADHD coach, right? And now I'm talking about, these are going to be my 4 pillars that I talk about on my account. And you can have more than 4 if you want. 4 is just kind of what I had space for here. Those are our pillars, but then we need to figure out what our content is. And so our content is just the stories, individual pieces of information, the individual things that we can help with and educate about and teach people with. So every single pillar is going to have a gazillion subtopics that we can discuss within that. Well, maybe we say understanding ADHD, so we're going to debunk common myths is going to be one of our content pieces. Maybe we do that once every 2 weeks. Maybe we do that once a week. Maybe we talk about the latest research. Maybe we educate about symptoms, daily life. All right. I'm going to give you some organization tips. I'm going to give you some time management strategies because we have an offer. Why not mix in some success stories and testimonials and show people how it applies to real life? You're showing them in action how your services are impacting people positively, but still providing value through that, because you can still, here's what I did for this client. Maybe this will work for you too. If you want to learn more, come talk to me. Great. Fun. Of course I want to do that. All right. Why would we choose these? I mean, you wouldn't have to. Your pillars could be a little bit different from that, even if you were an ADHD coach, right? But how we want to start thinking in terms of strategy is like, what do these do? What does it teach them about what I do? And how does it lead into my offer? So with our first one, I'm establishing my credibility. I'm helping my audience understand their experience with ADHD. I'm building trust. I'm building rapport. I'm letting them know like, hey, homie, I'm cool. We're good. I'm going to teach you some stuff here. I'm going to help you. Then we've got daily life. We're going to actually address challenges, and we're going to say, okay, I'm going to tell you exactly how to solve these stupid little things that get hung up in your daily life. And I'm going to give you practical, actionable solutions for these things that you can apply right now and have results from. Now you're displaying your expertise. So we've built trust. We are now showing our expertise and showing that we can do the things. And then we are positioning ourselves as empathetic and holistic, because maybe that is your brand. Maybe that is you. Maybe it's not, in which case maybe you might want to take a different approach. That's going to help your audience. Maybe you're helping them understand and manage like the emotional complexity that is ADHD meltdowns and dysregulation, and we're teaching them strategies to deal with that. And we're saying, listen, I care about your emotional health. We're building trust, letting them know we know our thing. We're establishing our expertise. We're showing them like, hey, I'm giving you stuff to do right now, establishing your authority in the space, relating and showing them empathy through helping them with their emotional well-being. And now we're going to build trust and demonstrate the benefits that working with you actually creates. That's naturally helping people understand what you do, how you do it, and encouraging them to enroll. Because if they're struggling with any of these things enough and they want a solution, like you are the solution. You're presenting yourself as the solution to their problem without being skeevy, without pressuring them into it. You're just saying, hey, listen, I know you because I've chosen you to talk to through my content. I have chosen to help you through my life, my experience, my expertise. Like, you're the person that I want to help. Here's what you're struggling with. Let me help you. You're just showing them like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm here for you when you're ready. We're offering value independently, but we're also leading naturally into our program off. So here we've got our pillars. We've added one more just because it looks better. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. But so maybe you have 5, maybe you have 6. I don't know. But we stick our pillars in this little circle here, and now we just rotate through them. And we can rotate through them on the daily, on the weekly. If you do post daily, you're a content generating machine like I am. You can make yourself 7 pillars if you wanted to. Just make it real easy. 1 a day. Boom, bam. Thank you, ma'am. So we've got our pillars here. We have our value pillars over here. So we've color coded them. And then we have our individual pieces of content. So under this pillar, we could have all of these different types of content. All of these content pieces are a different idea. And so maybe this one we're talking about ADHD symptoms in our stories, and maybe our reel is also about ADHD symptoms, and we're just expanding on it in our stories. But we're taking two different approaches to them, right? So maybe we're relating to them a little bit more and saying like, oh, this feeling with your symptoms. And then we're going into our story and we're saying, I know that you feel that way with your symptoms. I do too. Like, I just want to encourage you because so you're cross pollinating your content and feeding into each other. And it's just making it easier on your brain because you just know what you're talking about. So maybe you want to do a carousel too. Maybe you didn't want to make that relatability because you already did a relatability reel, but maybe we want to do educational. We're going to educate about these things that we're talking about in this relatable reel. Maybe you're posting multiple times a day. Let's do it. Or, again, on a weekly basis, you could have your relatability one day and then the next day you're doing an educational carousel on that same topic. And like, what better way to start taking people through that journey with you than to continue just approaching all of these contents with different formats, different value that you're delivering, different ways to relate to you on so many different levels. How do you know what to post and when? We need to understand the customer journey. So this is where I want to talk to you about my story because my brain works in analogies and maybe yours does too. But I like to think of the customer journey like inviting somebody on a walk with us. Maybe we've sent out the invite. We know who we're inviting. That's where we've sent out our reel. We've posted it. We're going to say, hey, if anybody wants to come on a walk with me, I'm going to meet you at the end of the road down there. And you meet them at the end of that road and you walk with them and you say, hey, tell me about you. Let me learn about you. Let me help you as much as I can. Tell me about what you're struggling with. Let me help you with what I can help you with. And we're just going to walk and we're going to talk and we're going to get to know each other. And the longer that you walk and talk, the more they get to know you, the more they get to trust you, the more they understand what you're all about. And then when you get to the end of that road, you say, hey, this is where I live, actually. Do you just want to come inside, have a cup of coffee, hang out for a bit? I've got more resources in here. I can help you with more stuff. And that's all it is. Either they say yes or no. So they say no. That's okay. Next time, they're not going to go back to stage one where they don't even know who you are. It's like they might just bump back and say, hey, I'll meet you halfway up the road next time. Meet them back there and you say, cool. I'll walk in. I'm still going to keep inviting you. Maybe not every 5 minutes. That would get a little bit annoying. But every once in a while, say, hey, you want to come hang out? You ready for that yet? Because eventually they might say yes. They might never say yes. They might just not be comfortable or they might just not like coffee. That's okay too. But once you get to know somebody and you let them get to know you from that place of just showing who you actually are and showing your skills and how you can help them. If they need what you have to offer and you have built that relationship, it's an easy yes. You don't have to sell to them. They just want to work with you because you are the person for them and you have shown them that through your content. So that's what we're going to talk about here. So discover, yay, they've discovered us with our reel over here. So once they discover us, or the way that people generally discover us is with reels. So you can see on the top and bottom here, I've written reels. Sometimes they can also find us through our grid. If you make a really great carousel, for instance, those can absolutely get a lot of reach. That could be part of your growth strategy as well. I don't think it's as effective in my experience as reels, not by a long shot. You can absolutely mix carousels in for discoverability. A really easy way to do that is like little compilations of like quotes or little thoughts, or like using your threads and screenshotting your threads and giving people a bunch of different things to look through, because when you give them that many opportunities to relate to something, you're giving them 10 opportunities to share your content, as opposed to just one with like a static post or with a reel. Also, occasionally lives can be helpful, especially if you're collaborating on them with somebody. I have some people who trickle over to me from other accounts. So we're going to draw them in with value, entertainment, education, relatability, and inspiration, right? Then we're going to move them into the like phase. So now they're here. They've hit that like button. These people down here ended up here by accident. They're going to bail, or they're bots. So we don't care. That's fine. Bye, guys. Enjoy it. Hope you find your people. In our like phase, we can also utilize reels for this. Like, people can kind of jump from the no to like with a reel if it's got enough value in it. But what we're mostly going to start working on at this point is our grid and our stories. This is how we're going to let people get more value, right? Understand more of what we are about, give them a little bit deeper knowledge about what our offer is, how we do it, let them understand a little bit more about us, a little bit more about the ups and downs and who we are. And lives are great for this as well. Then we are going to move into trust, and that's when we're going to move definitely heavily into the grids because that's where we're able to deliver the most knowledge and value, but also stories and comment. You need to engage with your people. You'll need to let them know that they matter to you. Don't just leave a comment, especially on a nurturing post. So something that is highly value driven. Sometimes if a reel goes viral, it's impossible to keep up with all the comments on it. I have some that have thousands and thousands of comments, and I just don't have the capacity to respond to every single one. I try to like them all, but even that becomes wily after a bit. But once they move into the grid feed, that engagement is going to be much less likely to be blowing off the roof. So just make sure that you're very intentional about connecting with the people who connect with you through those more nurturing style of posts. Because what that's going to do, along with sharing more about yourself and your stories. So once they get to this point, they're going to kind of start checking out your stories a little bit more. They're going to be like, oh, I like this person. I want to see what they're up to in their day to day. So share that. Start at this point kind of nudging them into action. We're going to do a little bit more of the in-depth coaching or try to bump them into our DMs a little bit. And again, not ever with the intention of being skeevy, but just we want them to trust us enough to reach out and connect with us because that is naturally where those problems are going to be able to be solved. All right, and that moves us into connect, and that's our comments, our DMs, our stories. That's where we're building that final bit of bridge with these people, and we're going to chat with them. And generally what happens is either you can help them or you can't. Some people just want to talk to you and connect, and that's fine too. But naturally, when somebody reaches out for the first time, they tell you why they're doing it. Being intentional about the questions that you ask and letting them know that you're listening and being intentional about responding and being open and being available to them, it's naturally going to lead into a conversation where it's like, hey, I'm really struggling with this. I could really use some help. Do you have any advice about, and then that door is open. And that's where you move into, I have just the thing for you, buddy. Let me get you back here behind the scenes. Let me move you into this place where I am going to help you thrive. So they've gone on the walk with you and they've said, yes, I would like that cup of coffee. And now I'm coming in. Now we're best friends. So you offer and they become a client. It doesn't have to be these cold DM beating somebody over the head with a stick and just trying to, please come be my client. No, just love people and be good at what you do and show them that you're good at what you do. And when you do that, you're going to naturally bring them from out here in this no, and you're going to bring them closer and closer down into this line. And you're going to move them right along that journey because you're going to walk with them through it. These little things, these pieces of content are just the most optimized way to do. This is why I can't give you a custom strategy because it's dependent on your current goals, your sales. Are you going for sales? Are you going for growth? Are you going for engagement? Some people will go really heavy on growth for a quarter, and then they'll move into the nurture and sales stage for the next quarter. And that's how they prefer to do their marketing. So it's they'll go really hard and heavy and get a lot of people in the door all at once. So then they can just completely transition into the nurture phase. And then they don't worry about the fact that they're not really growing right now because they're curating their audience. They're getting very deep with these people right now through nurture content as opposed to just constant discoverability. You can also go the other direction and just mix it all up all the time. I know what content gets reach on my account at this point. I know who's going to engage and what's likely to go viral or get a lot of engagement. And so I literally tweak different words and different pieces of content because it's I have themes that I do, right? And I know that consistently this type of content is getting a lot of reach when I do it this way, but maybe I actually don't want it to get enough or that much reach, but my audience still wants it and expects it. So I'm going to make some changes on that piece of content based on my insights to kind of tweak it to put the cap on just a little bit more. Maybe I don't want this meme to reach 10 million people this time, because sometimes they do, and sometimes that is a lot to handle all at once. And I don't want that every single week, because I just wouldn't be able to maintain that level of growth and still nurture those people. So I will change up the types of memes that I create, or I will change up the types of relatability content that I create, knowing what is likely to get the most reach, and kind of tamper that when I need to. So that is what a strategy is. It is basing your goals, or taking your goals and translating them into how you deliver your content and when you deliver your content. Your strategy is going to change if you have a change in your offers, if you have a change in any pillars, if you have a change in a niche, or you decide to niche down even further. So all of those things could determine your piece of strategy, which is why I can't do a done for you strategy without knowing your business. All right. And ideally they remain pretty even, but yeah. So we've got here, if we're on a growth focus phase, here we go. We're going to hang out in this little blue area, leads and warming. We're going to hang out in these two areas, and then heavy engagement and sales, we're going to live in these two areas here. And all right, planning our content. So these are some tips for planning content the spicy way, right? We have very fluctuating energy levels as neurodivergent people. Some days our energy is in the toilet, and other days it is out the roof. And so we want to flow with that. We don't want to fight it, because that's when we burn out. When you're trying to create every single day and you just don't have the spoons to do it. So what we're going to do is, on our low energy days, when we are just dragging, we are going to research. We're going to scroll on our phones, guys. It's just what we've always wanted. You're going to look for your keywords. Just get a little notebook. Take your screenshots, but put them in a folder. Look, this is me putting on my mom voice with you. Put them in a folder right away. Save them to a specific folder so that you don't lose them. Label it even by the day if you need to, so that you're not digging through 1,000 screenshots that's labeled strategy. And you just know, this was my work from today. So whatever works for you, do that, but make sure that it's accessible to yourself and that you can find it later. Hashtags, ideas, audio. If you're not looking at your competitors for your hashtags, especially your bigger competitors, you're wasting a lot of spoons. Just go see what they're using. On your high energy days, I want you to batch your filming. So film 20 minutes of talking head reels. Maybe film on 4 different topics. Write yourself some scripts if you need to. There's some apps that you can get that have on-screen prompting. If you are like me and have trouble talking live, you can do that and just crank out as much as you can. And write your captions. Draft up a ton of captions. Draft reel templates. So go take your audio that you saved, film your voiceovers, film whatever. Choose that day when you feel like getting ready, or you feel good about being on camera, and just film as much as you possibly can. Change your shirt a few times if you need to. It doesn't matter. And draft all of those things, because even if you don't have an idea in your head for them right now, just having them available to you will allow you to pull from those things when your energy is just not there. And then you need to have something on backup to keep you consistent, to help you, kind of keep moving and keep that sales funnel flowing, but not put you in a situation where you're burning yourself out. Here's some other tips. You can use OneNote. I use OneNote to drop my captions and just organize them. Here's a little example down here. Asana, I use it to plan my pillars and my content ideas, because you can kind of break them down by a category and then sub ideas. And then when you click on these ideas, you can actually pull up a little thing and you could write your whole caption in here if you wanted to. And so when you've got it all laid out like this, it's you've just got this thing that you're pulling from all the time, and you can just occasionally go in and work from it. So maybe one day I write all of my ideas for a certain pillar, and maybe I've got 20 of them in there, and I don't have time or the energy to keep going and writing captions. But that doesn't mean that in another week, when my energy feels like doing that again, that I can't go in there and crank out captions for all of those. And so now I'm just constantly building that asset gallery, because I can go in and pull different pieces of education from those things, or pull things from my course, or pull things from wherever I need to have content, and recycle it in as many ways as I want to. Maybe I pair it with a different video this time, because people don't see all of our content. Like, reuse, recycle. Please, for the love of God, don't be hung up about never repeating yourself. Like, you need to repeat yourself. When you get sick of hearing yourself say the same thing over and over again, you still haven't said it enough times. I'm guilty of it myself. Like, I get tired of hearing myself talk about the same things, and you want that novelty. Don't put the pressure on yourself to do that, because 90% of your followers didn't even see it the first time, and probably the other 10% have forgotten about it anyway. So just use it. Use a tool to take off the watermark of old reels and repost them, especially if they performed well, or reduplicate them or remake them. Roll with it, homie. You've got some other ideas in here if you just want to screenshot those. I know that I'm running a little bit long. Typical ADHD.